I'm Mary Rice, and the recipe I'm going to share with you today is sugar-free chocolate layered pie. The reason I'm so excited to bring you this recipe is because I know that there are millions of people across the country that have sugar diabetes. And sometimes people with diabetes feel left out, like they can't have all the things that other people can. So I took a version of one of my favorite holiday desserts and I tried to make it sugar-free. I have an uncle with diabetes, and when we have our family get-togethers, we have tons of other desserts, but we always had to try to think of something that he could enjoy. So I made this my mission to experiment and come up with a delicious recipe, and I believe that this pie is a winner. And one thing about Philadelphia brand cream cheese is that it only has 1 or less than 1 gram of sugar per serving, depending on which variety you get. So it's just perfect to go in this pie. And who would have thought such a wonderful ingredient that makes everything so rich and delicious could go in this sugar-free dessert? Now earlier I was having some trouble with editing, so I hope you don't mind, but I've already mixed up some of my ingredients. But I'm going to talk you through and tell you what I've done. First of all, I want to tell you about my pie crust. I found this crust in the freezer section, and it was a pre-baked crust, and I thought, you know, wow, how convenient is that? But when I started looking at the nutrition label, it said that it had 0 grams of sugar per serving. So I thought, well, this is just perfect for my sugar-free pie. So it comes in a 2-pack, and you just take your pie crust out when you're ready to try to make your pie and let it sit on the counter. By the time you get your first layer whipped up, it ought to be good to go. So right here in this bowl, I have a mixture of 4 ounces of Philadelphia brand cream cheese, a half a cup of sugar-free whipped topping. I used Cool Whip because I found a sugar-free version, and I haven't found other ones, so there might be some out there, but I used Cool Whip because that's what I could find. Now in the original version, you're supposed to use powdered sugar. Well, there's no sugar-free powdered sugar, so I had to make some. And what I did was I took 3/4 of a cup of artificial sweetener. I personally use Splenda, but feel free to try whatever you're used to using because it will probably work. And I put 2 tablespoons of cornstarch in there, and I put it in the blender, and I just pulse it until it gets powdery like a powdered sugar. So when I go to mix this up, I put the powdered sugar and the cream cheese and blend that for just about a minute or so, get it kind of creamed up a little bit before I put the whipped topping in, because the sugar-free version will get a little runny if you have to work with it too much. So that's what I did, and that's what I have here in this bowl. So this is my first layer, and I'm going to spread this on my crust and get this all out of the bowl here. So we just want to work it around into the bottom of the crust until it gets all covered. So we'll just take a minute. Now, normally when I do this, I put my pie, the 1 layer, I'll go ahead and put it in the refrigerator while I'm mixing up the 2nd layer, just to keep it good and chilled, because that way it's just ready sooner when you want to eat it. So I already have my other layer made, so I'm going to leave that out, and I'm going to put the next layer on, which is sugar-free chocolate instant pudding, 1 small box, and 1½ cups of skim milk. So I'm going to put that on next. And just work it around and cover up my cream cheese layer. Looking good already. Alrighty, get it all smeared around. Okay. Now, for your last layer, you could just use the rest of the container of whipped topping and spread it all across there, and then try to garnish it some way, which would be very pretty too. But what I have chosen to do is I put some whipped topping in my applicator here, and I'm going to just dab some small dots all around the crust, just like this. Try to make it look a little fancy. There we go. Okay. Now, I would put this in the refrigerator for at least 20 minutes. That's just about usually all it takes, but you can have it in there as long as you want, overnight or whatever. But I've got one that's been in the refrigerator just a minute, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to garnish it. I have used a small piece of sugar-free chocolate, and I've just shaved some off with a knife like this. And I think that's going to look really pretty on top of my whipped topping. So I'm going to get this ready to serve. I'm going to spoon out a piece here. Yeah, doesn't that look pretty? It looks pretty already, but I'm going to add a little bit of garnish to it. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of chocolate on top of it. And I'm going to put a little sprig of mint. Now, doesn't that look pretty? Who wouldn't like to be served such a pretty piece of pie that also tastes so delicious? And now for the ultimate test. Let's see how it tastes. This is delicious. And I would just like to thank you, Paula Deen and Philadelphia Brand Cream Cheese, for letting me share my recipe with so many people all at one time. I hope that somebody would maybe watch this video and try it and find a new luscious dessert that they could share for themselves or with somebody that they love that has to watch their sugar intake. This is Mary Rice, and this is my chocolate sugar-free layered pie.